What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional, aka Soul Brother #1, reporting for duty. I got the brother Herman Smalls with us this evening on the check-in.
Peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism, peace and Pan-Africanism.
Peace and Pan-Africanism. So now, before we go into the beginner's guide to fitness and nutrition, I want to talk about, when you say peace and Pan-Africanism, let's talk about that. Are you a Pan-Africanist? And if you are, what does that mean to you?
Yes, I am not just a Pan-Africanist. I'm a second generation Pan-Africanist. I've been a Pan-Africanist since conception. I say that because my father was a Pan-Africanist and a member of the Pan-Africanist movement. That's in the most simplest definition. It's an individual who understands their origin and is seeking to unite globally from a perspective of Pan-African. African is the base term, so Africanism, that landmass and how we were dispersed in different places, literally all over the world. We're original to every part of the world, but Pan-Africanism centers as that as the base, and present day is seeking to us to become a global power again, to connect with other brothers that understand and identify with that same root, the same root from the ground to the tree, and the branches may have spread, but we still come from the same place. So
Right.
yes, that's a kind of like a basic definition for Pan-African, or one that I flow from.
Okay, so give us a little bit about your background. I know the first podcast you were on with us, you did that already, but I want to kind of reintroduce you to the audience to let them know, who you are and the information you're going to be giving them.
Sure. Just to keep it within the realm, because I wear a few hats, but the one I think most pertinent to what my time this evening will be related to is fitness. So I have a pretty extensive background in that. I'm coming up to my 40th year in fitness business, in designing exercise programs, nutritional plans, conditioning. I've trained people for the New York Marathon, worked with NBA players, NFL players, A-list Broadway actors. So just folks with a limited amount of time that they need maximum results, and they don't have time to take a detour. And I do all my stuff healthily, so it's no gimmicks, but it is hardcore, sensible training and nutritional modifications. That is what I built my success around, helping people get to their goals in a timely and safe fashion.
Indeed. Okay, so how did you get into fitness, the fitness industry, right? Because from what I know, you've been jacked since I've been watching you on public access. So that was like 30 years ago.
At least, yeah.
That was 30 years ago. So how did you get your physique that way back then? Like, that was a long time ago.
Like a lot of young men, athletics, physical competition, whether you playing kick the can, ring olivio, bulldog, you running, you jumping. So you're engaging in athletics, and we're racing each other. So as you win more of these races, King of the Hill was a popular game where one of the devices in the park, one person would stand on, and each young person came up and had their chance at trying to displace him. So it was almost like we were constantly fine-tuning our basic physical skills. And then, we got, fortunately, local community centers and gyms. I was blessed to have a master trainer, a grandmaster trainer in the community center near me. That brother, just his ability to teach, his ability also to demonstrate. He lived what he was teaching us. So I got right from the jump that connection. Because right now, a lot of folks, and there's nothing wrong with getting the knowledge, but if you're not living what you're trying to teach someone, or you're not taking someone to a place that you've never been, for me, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. Or I know I'm more passionately motivated by someone who's teaching me from a perspective of something that they not only have lived, but their life demonstrates the fruit of that path that they're guiding me on.
For
So
sure.
that's the same place that I've tried to come from.
So who was the grandmaster that taught you?
Oh, Grandmaster Sands, former Marine, former community backbone. I only know I can put a community on my back and carry it because I saw him do it. I mean, an amazing brother, patient. Uh, he just had the ability to capture young minds, and that now, and I know there's about a decade and a half between us. So that was a rough time in the South Bronx. It was Mitchell Gym. So this is we talking uh, early '80s, man. So you know the different things that these intelligence agencies were flooding our communities with, and the substances and the distractions. So to have a beacon of light like Grandmaster Sands there to give us instructions and an example to emulate was a very motivating factor for me in seeing this as one an activity I wanted to do, but very quickly I was like, okay, I'm really mastering this to the point where I can begin to teach it. So it started to take shape there.
Okay. So now you got your physique like you're like a bodybuilder pretty much really
Mhm,
early as I can remember, right?
mhm.
And so what kind of program did you follow? Did you follow Arnold's encyclopedia, the encyclopedia of bodybuilding?
Hmm. I saw that, I don't know if this name would be familiar. You heard of Bill Pearl?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the old school guys. He had some things out there. Arnold Schwarzenegger was putting out some good things. Now remember the route. I kind of came in right with the teaching kind of early. So one of the icons that wasn't necessarily a bodybuilder, but definitely a fitness enthusiast, and that was Jack LaLanne. And
Right.
as a matter of fact, it's so interesting because there was a little portion of my time. Black folks we go to flip a name. So I was kind of getting that black LaLanne hook for a minute, but it was just a connection because he was on TV doing it, and he wasn't this massive dude, but he had balance, he had flexibility, the exercises you could do with the back of a chair. You can get up against a wall, put so no equipment. And then what was he engaging? He kept you up tempo. He encouraged. So yeah, there was a lot of, okay, not a lot, but the ones that were there was that same model. They demonstrated, they
Mhm.
showed that they were a living example of what they was trying to get you to learn or put you on a path. So yeah, so those are some of the names that kind of shaped and guided my interests along the way.
Okay, so what would the routines like let's say you just started out. You just started out. First off, you started out how heavy were you? Were you like a lightweight? Were you really thin? Were you like a slim build?
It's so interesting because weight training or calisthenic physical conditioning was right because I got into the Golden Gloves early. I was in the Golden Gloves from like 16 on.
Mm.
So, and that was, I got started learning about weight training getting it at 13. But for most weight training and boxing, if you are not cross training correctly, they can inhibit each other. And
Right.
I didn't know that. And, that kind of sports training knowledge wasn't available. So I was having my limitations. The weights give you all the power you want, but you can't deliver it. So and I was still when I started 16, I was light heavy. I was already past middleweight. So the thing is, my trainer was throwing me in there with lightweights and welterweights, and they was working on me like a ping pong ball, bing, 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 boom, because you got the power, but if you can't deliver it, so then I had to again using myself experiment. I had to modify. Okay, strength is great, but I can interfuse it with these kinds of repetitions, with that kind of intensity level. So then, and I saw my results improve. So
Mhm.
well, to say the routine before coming up with that calisthenics and calisthenics, that's always going to be the poor man's gym because you can do a push up anywhere if you're on planet Earth. Now, if you ain't got gravity, you might have some problems, but hey, you
Right.
can do a push up. You can do a proper squat. You can remember when the brothers and brother right here from Harlem, grandmaster of bartenders,
Oh
Giant,
yeah, giant.
and
Right,
you couldn't go down the street and not see a brother, hitting his work. So
right,
so so you make a gym and activity out of things around you. Now, of course, we had a Models back then, so you put a few dollars to get there. You could go in there, maybe get some sand weights or get
right,
some items, and now you can start in the structure. But even before that, I kind of jumped over a category: household items. You can fill a gallon of water, wrap a towel. There's things you can do to add resistance for certain activities if, again, equipment is not immediately available. But so that was kind of the route I took. And then the community center being right there, Mitchell Gym with the Grandmaster trainer, Mr. Sands. So that opened the gateway. So calisthenics, household items, free weights, and
mhm,
then if you are in a gym, learn how to use that equipment properly. And that should be, I think, a natural progression. And also all of this is relative as to what that person's goal is. Your
right,
goal will dictate the route and the combination of things you'll have to do to arrive at it.
right. When I was young, I think I told you this before. When I was young, when I was younger, a young little kid, I would
Mhm.
watch you on public access, and I said, you know what? I want to get my muscles like this. Because of you, I went to Modell's and I got me some I got me some dumbbells. And I was trying, man. I was trying. I didn't really understand how to lift weights until I went to the bathhouse, with
Mm,
Grandmaster Sam McGee. Before I went to
right.
karate, I would go on a weight floor and look around and I would watch people. And then some guys would go, let me help you out. And then I learned how to lift weights in the bathhouse.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, good setting. Early on in my company started, that was one of the drop spots. They had a nice little free weights, and it was a camaraderie.
right,
Obviously, you had the more advanced, the gym rats that's in there all the time. Then you had folks that was coming through to get back to a place. They might have running behind jobs, starting a family, all the different things that happen in life that separate you from your physical regimen. And those extra pounds start coming off. So there's people at different places, different paths led them to there. But that was one of the great environments right at the bathhouse in Harlem for folks who are listening outside of New York.
right. 135th Street between 5th and
Yes,
Lenox. Right,
yes.
right in front of Lincoln Terrace. I think it's right. Lincoln Terrace. That's the name of the place,
Lennox
right?
Terrace. Lennox Terrace.
Lennox Terrace. Lennox Terrace. I'm thinking about Lincoln Projects. That's what I'm thinking
Lincoln
about.
Project, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the community refers to Lennox as Malcolm X Boulevard. Malcolm X Boulevard, but also known as Lennox Avenue.
Right. So now, let's talk about the beginning stages. So you said calisthenics. You started there with calisthenics. So what was your main go-to? Was it round robins, push-ups, pull-ups, and dips?
I would say sticking with push-ups first, because now that's a world in itself.
Right.
Now, remember, I'm introducing boxing, but I'm fortunate that I've always had martial artists around me. So I was doing I was doing mixed martial arts before it was popular, just by having so many different arts and sciences, and because in personal security, the majority of brothers have different backgrounds in the arts, so much downtime, so you constantly working and learning different things unofficially, not for belts, but to keep your game tight. So when you say the basics, a lot of my push-ups, there were knuckle push-ups, there were push-ups on the fingers, because you're still building your joints. Wide, diamond, decline. So a lot of it was from the chest, building that deltoid, because remember, off strike and then for defense. So that that was almost half of the workout. And then your drills. So that's the cardio. But again, it's tied to combat, or it's tied
Right.
to also being able to perform a strike if it comes down to that. So calisthenics basically, and then squats, and a lot of emphasis. Now you're familiar with a horse stance, I'm sure, through
Yeah.
through the arts, but there's an inner thigh squat that you can do with your legs in a horse stand position. That you
Right.
do that between 20 and 40 pounds, and it builds your core and it builds that inner thigh
Mhm.
in a way for kicks if you need it. But even if you're not kicking, remember your punches come from your legs anyway.
Right.
So that was the other thing. Squats, but not just a traditional shoulder width, definitely
Right.
horse stand inner thigh squats.
Right. So you're talking about with the feet externally rotated, more in a wider stance, like a sumo squat. It's a sumo squat.
Exactly. And the
Sumo
width
squat.
is important. So the heels of the shoulder, the heels of the feet on either side are about anywhere from 3 to 6 inches outside of your shoulder. So
Right.
that right foot is about 3 to 6 inches turned out and outside of that shoulder on that side. And that
Right.
generally should give you a good distance. And then your both legs should achieve about a 90-degree angle before you start to pivot. And it's a short pivot
Right.
as opposed to a long range squat. And that again, it gets that quick trick muscles working in the quadriceps. Again, for kicks, if you need it. But if not for kick, it still gives your foundation a lot
Right.
of
So
strength.
right. And also that sumo squat that he's mentioning, it's also great for like deep pelvic floor muscles for
Yes.
women, who, gave birth and things like that,
Yes.
to strengthen the deep pelvic floor muscles.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
and also women who like to, shaping up the caboose, the
Mhm.
backside. That's
Yes.
also a great exercise, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Very
Indeed,
much so.
indeed.
Yep.
Yep, yep. So now, we went to the calisthenics. So you said push-ups, push-ups, incline, decline. What else are you doing for calisthenics?
Well, incline the diamonds. I want to get
Diamond.
that in there. And you said knuckle pushers, right?
I don't remember. I think I said
Just
no.
to go over them again.
Yeah.
Knuckle. There's a shoulder width with the palms flat. There is the wide. There is the diamond. Then
Mhm,
there's the decline. The decline you achieve that with the feet up on a higher platform and your chest down flat. So those calisthenics. The inner thigh squat we just mentioned.
mhm,
You know what? I would suggest but it depends. But lunges, but 10, 20 years ago, they were much more popular in exercise. I intersperse them. The stress it puts on the knee sometimes over long periods. But lunges for a
mhm,
person who's not having any kind of issue with that part of the body, done
mhm.
correctly, a lunge is an excellent exercise. And then your core. There's a series of abdominal stuff. You can
Right now, let
incorporate the legs for the lower abs. There are side crunches for the external
mhm,
oblique.
mhm.
There are a number of rotations that you can do to get your core firing. And
Well,
that's one of the main calisthenics.
right. Well, I want to make mention of this. So you speaking of, spoke on lunges, right? So you
Yeah.
said, you didn't really want to suggest lunges, really, right?
Hmm.
But because it could cause patella problems and things
Right.
like that. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna say that you can when people with knee issues, they can do reverse lunges.
Excellent.
Okay?
True.
Depending on how bad the knee issue is now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so don't go out
Yeah.
there with terrible knees and then
Yeah.
go do a reverse lunge and mess your knee up and say Ron Brown LMT told you to do it. I'm
Right.
telling you, depending on the severity of the knee issue, right?
Hmm.
So if you
Hmm.
have like little aggravation every now and again, on the knees, you can do a reverse lunge, all right,
Hmm.
and we're gonna call it a stationary reverse lunge, because there are walking lunges with body displacement, and then you have stationary lunges where you stay right in place and you take a step back for reverse and then do a
Hmm.
reverse lunge and then come back up again. So uh
Exactly. And,
you know,
and and if I can just jump in with that, just
yeah,
briefly, that even could be done near a wall. So if you're having a balance issue, you can still work with a surface that you can extend your arm to stabilize. Now, quite naturally, you want to move to the place where you can recruit your stabilizer muscles and do that on your own. But it
right.
depends. Again, we said beginner when we promoted this. So if someone
Mhm.
is just, hey, just getting into it, I want to know, set up a few, if there's not a wall nearby, put a chair nearby. It's okay to have something as you're developing your balance and coordination.
For sure. And another thing you can do to develop your lunging coordination and strength, you can do step ups.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case your knees or you have knee issues, okay, do step ups. It works pretty much the same muscles.
Now, okay, again, each situation can be so individual because
Mhm.
now I've experienced with some clients that elevation to going from a flat surface even 6 inches higher, sometimes that stress on the patella can be challenging.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
good the
Mhm.
good is that you recruit more the base of the thigh, so you got more muscle to move the rest of the body up to that elevated point. But
Mhm.
it's still the knee, it still becomes a digital point. But I guess if it's a lower step, it
If it's
depends
a
on
lower step,
height.
right? If it's a lower step, it can be used. It also, it's also therapeutic for the knee if it's a lower step and you
Mhm.
focus more on the vastus medialis, that
Right.
muscle, right? And you know what I'm saying, but
Mhm.
the public, the vastus medialis is the muscle right in the middle. I would say the midline next to the knee, the patella,
Mhm.
next to the
Mhm.
patella. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
more medial. Okay, away from the patella, more inside, closer to your inner thigh. That
Mhm.
muscle on the quad, that's the
Mhm.
vastus medialis. To training that medialis on the step up is imperative for knee strength and knee health
Yes.
on a step up. Okay, so now,
I,
but
I
this,
I totally agree. And
yeah,
now I know we had neither of us to send this yet, and again, and I'm assuming folks know all of this is suggestions and advice, but you definitely want to get a checkup before taking this or any advice. You want to get a clearance from your health professional that you're in good enough condition at this time. Because again, you could be motivated and ready. Just get that last green light, especially if you know you've been inactive for a substantial, like a year or longer
right.
of inactivity. But with that said, yeah, I mean, and even we kind of jumped in. Walking might even be if you've really
Or
been walk for a distance. Get a
right,
pedometer. So even before the lunge, the squat, the iron horse, no, sorry. Parking is rough here, and I'm sitting in the car. So many people ask me, "Am I moving?" I might have to cut these lights out. But yeah, walking and then working on your posture, working on your breath. So again, not even a squats lunge. Yeah, it is the most natural activity for the legs is walking. So it depends on where this person is, what their age is, and you live near a park. You got a comfortable pair of sneakers that might hold you for 2 weeks. Just walking every other day, picking up the pace. Okay, I got that under. Okay, now let me listen to these brothers on the lunges, on the squats, on the reverse lunge, on the slight step ups. So even that, all of this is we are setting out a menu for you. Only you know what your current condition is. Either you've had it checked or you're about to get it checked. But use this right now to pick from. Say, okay, I know this much about my body. This sounds like something I can safely experiment with. But by no means go forward without you need to get some kind of approval that you have a green light to take on these challenges.
indeed. Let's talk a little bit about walking. Walking is great. Some people do like just leisure, right? Or brisk walking, or they call it power walking.
Power walking.
Some people do power walking. You could also walk on a treadmill if you want to do that. Up
Mm-hmm.
uphill, on a incline, right? On an incline, you could walk on
True.
an incline, and uh, the thing about walking that's great from what I've learned is that walking builds the feet. It builds the low, the feet, the calves, all the way through, all the way up. It's a total body exercise, actually.
Very true.
You know, and as they say, you got to crawl before you walk, right? So you want to walk, walk before you run. You walking actually helps you build your running mechanics, the proper running mechanics. So that's great to start out for beginners for running and things of that nature. So walking is great. Another thing is the great thing about walking is that you burn a lot of fat, right? At a lower heart rate. You burn a lot of fat. Okay.
Now, I don't know. A lot is relative. Now, you can burn fat. I don't know if a lot, because remember the threshold to get into an anaerobic capacity, where the body most efficiently burns fat, tends to be a little higher than what walking would achieve, but you will burn, but it's over the length of time and the consistency that you participate with. That's why it
Right.
made you lose it quicker on that treadmill, on that stairmaster, because you're burning more and your cardiovascular capacity is taking you to an aerobic level where the body has already the glycogen that's been burnt, and now you digging into a fuel source that you're trying to burn anyway.
Right. So you're basically saying taking the body into an anaerobic state, right?
Well, no, remember the anaerobic is the short term. That's when you dispense of the glycogen in your. That's like, let's
Exactly.
say
Right.
football,
Right.
the
Right.
front line, boom, boom, boom. That's anaerobic. I'm talking
Right.
about going into an aerobic capacity.
Yeah.
Now
So that's what I'm saying. So like with aerobic, you can burn a lot of body fat at that lower heart rate over time. So I'm not saying, walking on a treadmill only for 20 minutes, depending on remember, it also depends on the person's fitness level,
hmm
right?
now the threshold for aerobic, when the body is shift gears from anaerobic to aerobic, what are the threshold markers you would use to say, okay, hey, you're working on your aerobic system right now?
I would use their heart rate.
Okay.
I would use their heart rate. So I would use their resting heart rate,
hmm
and I forgot how that goes. Let me look at how I calculated that, because I forgot how you calculate that. Off the top of my head, I think it's
I mean,
oh
some
yeah.
say it's
So here we go. I got it. Here we go. I just remembered. So you subtract 220, 220. You subtract your age. You subtract your age from 220, and that would be your max heart rate, right? That would be your maximum heart rate. So then I would go in between the range of your max heart rate and down, right? So, usually people use like the Bruce time test protocol to find that out, to find out exactly what their threshold is, the Bruce time test protocol to figure that out. And there's a few calculations that they would have to go through, but the basic for beginners, right, I would say, is take the number 220, subtract your age, and then you'll find your maximum heart rate. And of course, you don't want to take yourself into your maximum heart rate, because now you're anaerobic. So you want to keep it in between the maximum heart rate and whatever sweet spot there is. So like, let's say if your maximum heart rate is 180, my maximum heart rate according to this calculation is 180, right? So I would go in between maybe like a 140 range to 180, depending on my actual performance during this walk test.
right,
So
right.
you look at your maximum heart rate, and you just pretty much test it out from there.
hmm
So
Okay,
I
so
would, yeah.
but so then you would agree there's a level of intensity you have to get to before you
Oh,
get
for
to
sure,
aerobic. So
for sure.
now walking, especially if it depends if it's leisure, you may not get anywhere near that in intensity level. So that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. So I wouldn't even know if you even get into an aerobic range where you'll be losing lots of weight. Now you will trigger the system, but because that's the other thing. I really try to give a realistic perspective to folks once they get going, because
Mhm.
that's everybody's looking for results on and on scales in the front of the mirror every 3 days. So I don't want to set them up for something uh, that might not be as accurate. It's not going to be quick, but it will come down if you're consistent. I think maybe leaning more towards that direction.
Right. Consistency is key. So, but just like you said, like leisure walking, like I'm just walking to go to the store. I'm just walking to a friend's house. That's not going to cut it. Even though the amount of steps, they do matter though. The amount of
Yeah,
steps, right?
it does.
Because there's something called non-activity exercise threshold as well. So
Mhm.
it's like your non-activity also counts, like the walking over here and walking over there. But as the brother Herman Smalls said, you have to take your heart rate to a certain threshold for you to burn fat. So,
Yes.
but yeah, so I totally agree with that. I totally agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I would say that threshold over a length of time. It's just like get to the threshold. Okay, I'm done. Get to that threshold, maintain it over a period of time, and
Mhm.
then you can leave it and come back. But in that period of time, your body would have most efficiently started to utilize your fat storages, and that's what most people, unless it's a weight gain program, but most folks that's that sweet spot that they're trying to get to, where the body's like, okay, now I'm tapping into fuel I never wanted to be storing in the first place.
Exactly, exactly. So now we spoke about walking, we spoke about the push-ups, we spoke about the sumo squat. Now one thing about the sumo squat, it works, um or squatting in general, right? It's gonna work the glute, it's gonna work that squatting movement pattern. But what about the woman who has a child who's always, deadlifting their child from a chair or the bed or from off the floor? They have to have some kind of deadlifting strength. Would you agree?
Oh yes, yes, especially as that child progresses in weight and in age. Yeah. And let's
Yeah,
hope they got good biomechanics there. They're lifting from the legs, engaging all of their core muscles to do it properly. But yes,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, women naturally have to maintain that. I mean,
Exactly.
mothers have to.
Mothers. Oh, and I would say men should improve their deadlifting abilities as well, because they have to pick up things for the family. They got to pick up the groceries and things like that. And
Mhm.
also, naturally, men are the protectors of the home. That
Yes.
that you know what I mean. So that deadlifts gives you enough power through the back of the body to ward off opposition.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. 'Cause that's your base. And in emergency, God forbid you ever have to drag someone out of a fire,
Right.
drag a
Your
body out
sound,
of a
your audio is off. Your audio. Oh, somebody must have called you.
no, no. It looks on now to me. You hear me?
I hear you. I hear you, but the audio is a little off.
Okay. Now I didn't do anything on this end, so what is
Okay.
it? It breaking up?
Oh, now you good. Now you good.
Okay, okay. I'm just saying, in cases of an emergency where you have to transport someone, vis-a-vis dragging them, or maybe even sometimes hoisting someone over your shoulder that's
Mhm.
160, 180, 200 pounds. So, yeah, for self defense, core, uh, training, but also to be able to have the strength to move and transport. Even sometimes you can 10, 15 feet is enough to save someone's life or move them out of harm's way in an emergency. So yeah, yeah, for men definitely, but women should have a certain amount of base strength that they can develop, and women can develop that strength as well without taking all the negative attributes. Like a lot of women try to stay clear of becoming overly bulky, and the targeted training that a woman would do would give her great benefit in the core without adding any kind of mass that seems to be a concern for a lot of women that has caused them to avoid weights for most of their lives.
Right. Now, one thing I want to mention for women, and this for men too, but mainly for women, doing a deadlift, right?
Mhm.
You if you can't make it to a gym, you can also buy a simple kettlebell from Walmart or from what's that other place? Dick's Sporting Goods. And you could buy a kettlebell and do deadlifts with a kettlebell. Deadlifts are a very important exercise you should incorporate. So a simple kettlebell could get the job done. You don't have to go to the gym and get the big old weights. Or even if you could also do you could do a deadlift using dumbbells. There's a they have the RDLs, the Romanian deadlifts you can do with the dumbbells. So yeah. So
And even I always like to give a non-equipment, I want to say equivalent, definitely not an equivalent in this situation, but something that you would want to do to build your core, to build your torso region. It's posture related. Now you can do this walking or sitting. And we go back to old school, what grandma said, sit up in that chair, boy, sit up right. Posture, when the body is in its proper posture, whether seating or standing, that automatically gives you more breathing capacity, anywhere from 5 to 10% more the average person will get just by improving on their posture, shoulders back with their head up, so that the esophagus can get the air more freely. So posture, no weight, no equipment, not a kettlebell, not a dumbbell, not a deadlift, but you've already begun to initiate an alignment that will build with time. Now you add deadlifts on top of that. So again, the first thing, get your posture, get your form, get your breathing. So when you go to that exercise, you can build up right there because your foundation is already set. A lot of times you get to the exercise without locking in the little stuff, your strength could be improving, but there's like an Achilles heel. And then we wonder sometimes where these spontaneous injuries come from after an exercise you've been doing for 2 years, 3 years. So that's why I'm a big stickler on form right from the outset. You get a solid foundation, you could build 100 floors on top of it. A weak foundation, you get to 8, 9, 10, you progressing, but all that stuff is going to tilt and come crashing down at some point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So now, we spoke about the calisthenics. We went a little bit into weightlifting. Can you give the people some recommendations for weightlifting? Basic exercises. So we spoke about squats, deadlifts. We spoke about what's your take on bench pressing?
Bench press, it's more or less standard, and if you can get a bench, the safety factor, because it's not ideal unless it's dumbbell bench presses, but if it's barbell bench presses, I think if there's one exercise has the cause of more accidental death, it is the barbell bench press done alone with an individual that misjudged that weight, or fatigue came on a lot more rapidly than they anticipated. So again, so what do you have? You got a bar, you got a guillotine effect, and now, of course, many of us had that experience. That even I learned a technique from an old head, because you learn how to train. You put those clamps on both sides. Why? So the weight don't tip off while you lift it. But the old head told me, yeah, in the case of an emergency, you want that weight to be able to tip off. He said he
Exactly.
never wanted to clamp. Yeah, and he saved himself several times. It
Do
got
not
messy.
put those clamps on if you're by yourself.
Yeah, but if you would think a simple thing, but hey, boom, boom, you're hit it. We get into routine, and he said he banged up his whole fish tank one time, but yeah, you got to get that stuff off. So yeah,
Right.
a bench press is good. If you're challenging yourself with it, always do it with a partner. If you're going to do bench pressing on alone, I would stick with the dumbbells. But yeah, it's an excellent one of the best exercises for building the chest. Well, a lot of us are not going to have a bench, but if you do have one, bench, start lighter. Focus on range of motion. Focus on isolation. That's a big thing that's not even emphasized enough in training. Target the muscle
Right.
while being able to relax the other muscles sufficiently, where they're not taking away the work from what you're targeting.
Indeed.
So
Indeed.
all these are the techniques.
Indeed. So I want to go back to bench pressing again.
Mm-hmm.
Warning: if you're by yourself, bench press. I'm gonna give you maybe a couple of tips. If you're bench pressing by yourself, go a little lighter than you usually would. Don't put any clips on them, right? And even though full range of motion, basically incorporates the greatest length tension, is the best thing for the pecs. I wouldn't go all the way down if you're worried, if you're concerned.
Right.
Go, at a comfortable range of motion and then push it right back up
Yes.
on
Yes.
the bench press. Yep. Yeah.
And this, I would say, and only in an emergency. Only I wouldn't, because this is poor technique actually. But if in an emergency, and again, the first thing, get it off, tilting, boom, boom. If not, if you misjudge, but if you think you might have one more rep and you can get it up, that springboard effect off the chest has
Right.
helped a lot. And then it's that last time down, get that bounce and everything you got to drive it. Now you missed that one, bring it down, controlled, and then you have to tilt off. Because
Right.
especially if most of us working out in small spaces. So
Right.
if you got a bar flinging because it has weight on one side and not on the other, you're already fatigued. So in most cases, you're not going to have a lot of control over it. So you're looking at breaking up something. It's just not pretty. Or your neighbor's going to be coming up like, what the blank, man? The ceiling got my ceiling falling down. So
Right.
yeah, you want to work carefully and intelligently while
Right.
challenging yourself and getting the benefits from exercise.
Right. Shout out to the new member, Joey. You just became a new member to the NYP Talk Show. I really appreciate it. This show brought you to become a member. So we got to keep this show going on. I always wanted to do a fitness show. We tried in the beginning, and I don't know, some things happened with that, but now we're here. So we're gonna keep this fitness show going. Of course, this is like my main thing. This is what I do for a living. It's fitness. It's massage therapy, group fitness. So that's what I do. Peace, Joey. Peace, Joey. I really appreciate you. We're gonna do this show every other Monday. Every other Monday, Joey. The fitness show every other Monday, and depending on how depending on the response, I want to do more fitness shows because, like I said, this is what I do for a living. So, so the bench press, we went into the bench press. What do you? So I was watching a show, no, a YouTube, I think a couple weeks ago, and it was about like lifters, lifters who are not on, the juice and all that stuff. And they had a young guy on there who was doing like a lot of incline. He said he never does flat. So what do you think about that? Like just doing mainly incline and not even flat?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I stumbled upon that maybe about 10 years ago. And now this is if there's only one option. If I have an option for flat or incline, I would only do incline. If you do both, you intersperse them. If I have an option of doing only one, a barbell or a dumbbell, it will always be a dumbbell because that'll give me more angles that I can. You have more control with the dumbbells, where the bar just keeps you in a more or less a straight track of motion. Everything, your wrist, your elbows, shoulder, everything is more or less aligned. Where that little play of adjustment is oftentimes more comfortable, especially if you have an old injury you're trying to work around. And I'm sorry, the question again.
So I was talking about the incline.
Oh,
This
right, right,
bodybuilder,
right, right,
he does mainly incline. He doesn't do
right.
it
Yes,
like
and again,
flat.
I stumbled on that, and then guess what the logic is? The logic. I mean, from a practicality, and especially if this is a person who's either competing or
Oh yeah,
because if you're working out of all the pectoral divisions, inner pec, outer pec, upper pec, the one that would enhance them all, or the one that definitely cosmetically benefits them all, is the upper pec. Because what do you have pulling on you night and day and night? It is gravity. So
right.
anything you build from the top, even when gravity is working, some say against you, or when it's pulling, you still have that development that will sit and pull out everything under it.
Right.
Whereas
Pardon me. Your sound, your audio again went out.
Oh wow. How
Yeah,
about now? Testing. Is back still out?
still,
Still out?
yeah. Now we're on.
That's interesting. All right, we have to figure out why this happened, but at least it goes away. So
Yeah,
the upper
I think
back.
when you back up like this, don't
Oh,
don't back
oh,
up.
oh, okay. Then I
Yeah,
better not back up no more. But yeah, the upper pec still enhances the development. So it's kind of like a cheat technique. You really should work a more upper, mid, inner, outer. I mean, to get that full development of the pectoral. But
right.
if you like more like a time restraint, and it's one that I had to do, it would be the incline only.
Now the thing about the incline that I don't like is that it's tough on the shoulders.
Yes. Yep.
It's tough on the shoulders. So if you're
Yeah.
gonna do incline, I'm gonna suggest you start lighter than you would if you did a flat bench.
Without question. Yes. At least I would say about 30% lighter, man. Easy.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
easy.
if you flat, you're doing 150, you dropping that to 100 for
Yeah,
incline.
right. For sure, for sure.
Yeah, and focus on form, range of motion. And if you haven't done it in a while, it's a balance adjustment. It's a whole equilibrium thing. So you
Right,
might even want to work with the bar alone just to get comfortable again with that range of motion.
right. So yeah, my main focus, like for clients and for myself, right, is like that first set. Even though I tell my clients the first set doesn't count, it actually does. I just tell them that because it's like
Mhm.
they're counting the sets to try to get it over with, right?
Right, right,
So I say this first set doesn't count. You know what I mean?
right.
But actually, the first set really matters.
Right?
Actually the first set is extremely important because it's the
Yep.
warm up. The first set
Yes.
is the warm up. So I would go. My main focus is body mechanics and getting the neuromuscular system used to that actual movement
Okay.
before we start adding load to it.
Exactly. Now
Yeah.
you said something that I don't want it to be misleading. And now you said the first rep is the warm up.
I no, I said the first set is the warm
Oh, the
up.
first set is so it's a warm up set then.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now, is there any stretching or warm up things done before that set, or is that
Uh,
literally you're laying down cold and that's the first thing you do?
sometime before I got a little older, I used to just go down there cold, but I don't think that's the
Oh
best. That's
no,
not the
no
best
way.
idea. No.
Yeah, that's why when you said warm up set, I wanted to
Yeah.
tease that out so people
Yeah.
know there are basic range of movement stuff related to warming up even before you get to that. That could be helpful. Now, and
Right.
also I forgot the other reason I was trying to work from inside is my phone wasn't fully charged, and
Mhm.
and I know I'm in the red now, so I think I
Okay.
got sorry. I got about I think about another 4 or 5 minutes, and my apologies, but I was trying to stay plugged in for those few minutes. That's what I was trying to keep the camera
Oh,
off until I got
it,
up. So all right, so we got time, but if it abruptly stops, I just want to give you a warning on it.
okay. It's all good. This was our first one,
Yeah.
and I loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was thorough. Even though the
Mhm.
next time we got to do beginner's guide to fitness and nutrition part two. We got to do a part two to this. So
Without question.
now the warm up that I like, right, is the dislocations
Hmm.
because you're moving. It's more dynamic as opposed to doing a static stretch.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. So now,
Yeah. Over those two, yeah. Dynamic definitely over static.
yeah, for sure. So I don't know what kind of dynamic stretching you do, but I use sometimes you can use a stick and just go over your head and back down in the front, over the head and back
Mhm.
down, or you can use a long rope, go over the head and back down, and over the head back down, and loosen up the shoulder joint, getting the synovial fluid excreted inside the joint, getting yourself ready for that chest press. So
Right.
I don't know
Now
which
I
one.
tell you, the over the back concerns me a little. And maybe again, and maybe I'm at a place where I'm working with a lot of older clients. So
Okay.
I would say that one would be a little more complex movement that I would want them to start off as a warm up. But one of the ones I do almost universal, depending on is this one, the scissor across the front. where you're almost like alternating one arm, yes, but all the way across the front. It's like you're giving a hug opposite with the other arm each time, but moving it. You're not stopping. Up and over, up and over, up and over. So you're raising the heart rate because that's right in the thoracic. And then I definitely go up and down because you're working that deltoid. So those
Right.
work going behind. Believe that that's a pretty complex movement, and depending upon what flexibility is in the neck, is in the rhomboid, in the deltoid in general. A lot of times it can spark something more than it will help.
Okay.
And in older client, again, you may not have seen a lot of this. So
Well, you know, I've trained people who the oldest person I've trained was 80. And
okay.
yeah, yeah. And I've trained him for years. I'm pretty sure he's passed on at this point. Rick, shouts out to Rick if you're still around.
Okay.
I used to train Rick. I trained, you know, anyone who worked with me at Equinox 63rd Street, they know I trained Rick for so many years. It's crazy. But I
Wow.
trained him from, I guess, his 60s all the way up. So, you
Wow.
know, yeah, and I had him bench pressing and I had him doing some good stuff. So he was able to do that, you know, because he didn't have any shoulder issues. Plus, oh, who's that? Divine God Allah. Peace, Divine, God Allah. So that stretch, right? It's really simple though. Like I wish I had a string or something. But you're just going above your head like this. You're just doing this. It's nothing really hard at all. But I like your warm up as well. That one is good too. That one. Peace. You there? Okay. His phone died on us. His phone died on us. He said that was gonna happen. But yeah, so we just went through. Hold on, if y'all want to see that stretch. Hold on, y'all gotta wait 1 second. Where the hell? Where was that thing? All right, so real quick. So you could take any kind of rope or belt or whatever, as long as it's long enough. Now, if it's really short, it's going to be hard for you to do this. All you're doing is this. You're just taking anything and bringing it above your head, down behind your back, and bringing it back down here, above your head, around and down. That's all you're doing to warm up your shoulder before you go into a chest press. And shouts out to Nomad Kali. Hey, Nomad. That's my school right there. I go to Kali, PTK, martial arts. Anyway, Filipino stick fighting, knife fighting, etc. Anyway, so you could do that. Take anything above your head around, and there you have it. The warm up for the shoulder, chest press, and we're out of here. The brother Herman Smalls, basically phone died, so we're on alternate weeks, 8 o'clock Mondays for the fitness podcast, Beginner's Guide to Fitness and Nutrition in 2025. I am going to also put out another clip of Wise Asia tomorrow, and you guys will see that. Peace to all the 5%. Peace to all 5 people from the 5%. Pardon me, y'all. I'm tired. Peace to all and everybody in the 5% nation, the gods and the earth. Peace to the Moors. Islam to the Moors. Peace to everybody, the human families on the planet Earth. I am out of here. I am gone. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.